years ago, 10, 15 years ago, where people started trying to do real superheroes, where they started dressing up in costumes and going out into the real world and trying to make a difference. Most of them did not go well, and the people dropped out. You have a few people who do very niche things, like they volunteer at homeless shelters but dress up in costumes, or there's a guy in London or UK somewhere that goes and cuts boots off of cars, and so that way the drivers can go away. So that's great. But there's this guy named Phoenix Jones, and he's the only person who's pretty successfully actually done the real-world superhero thing. Mm-hmm. He was a former MMA fighter who, from the story I heard anyway, there was a home invasion, and he was robbed and beaten up pretty bad and stuff. And from that, he decided he wanted to be a real superhero. And he did it in Seattle, which is where I lived for about 6 years, close to 7. And Phoenix Jones he's gotten charged with assault multiple times, all these things, but he's always been found innocent. Mm. And the news today, apparently he was arrested because this whole time he's secretly been running a drug organization. He's been selling drugs this whole time.
So when Batman turns into the Joker, you get Phoenix Jones.
You get Phoenix Jones.
So let me put some perspective on this, right? You have a superhero, right? This guy's out here. One of the stories was what? You were saying how he came in and he punched somebody in the face.
Oh, yeah. There was, there's a lot of stories, but one that happened to somebody that I actually knew is he was in a bar fight, and Phoenix Jones came in and tore the fight apart and knocked both guys out.
So you have this superhero, this guy that comes in and he saves everybody, right? Closest thing to a superhero that we have in actuality.
It's got the full costume and everything,
right. And the colors, nice color scheme.
Yeah, black and gold.
Yeah. Phoenix Jones. And while he's knocking people out who start bar fights, he's selling drugs. Okay? He is the villain. You
gotta
the
wonder.
Classic yin and yang. He is the villain and the superhero.
Yeah. You gotta wonder when it started too, because the article made it sound like he's been doing it for years. Mm-hmm. But did it start when he was a superhero and he started them at the same time, mm-hmm. or did he get disillusioned with everything?
You gotta pay. You gotta be able to pay for the Batmobile. Somehow. Not everybody's a billionaire, millionaire. You gotta be able to pay for it.
You're not Tony Stark, so
Right. Guess you gotta sell a couple drugs to make sure your suit is Teflon and stuff.
Yeah, he even had his own Justice League. He had they were called the Rainy Day Heroes, and he had about 5 people that worked for him that dressed up like superheroes as well and went out and did things. The turnover rate, from my understanding, was pretty high. People would start and then they drop out pretty quickly. But yeah, he had his own Justice League. He had his own costume. He stopped bar fights. He had so many interesting stories that came out from that guy, and he actually was inspiring people, and and the crime rate did go down a little bit when he started. Not earth-shattering difference, but enough that he legitimately made a difference. But then was selling drugs.
Right, exactly. So he ran the Drugsters League. So basically he's like Two-Face, right?
Yeah.
So on one side he's the law-abiding good guy, and then on the other side he's this bona fide criminal, and
So the story of how they got him is that there was apparently they had a lot of evidence on him already, and they more or less catfished him. There was a police officer started texting him saying that he was a girl, and wanted to get some stuff off of him. Yeah. And he's like, "Oh yeah, you should look me up. I'm this famous guy."
Right.
And so, replied back of "Oh my God, you're a superhero? That's hot," and all this stuff. And so he went. From my understanding, he went from the Wells Fargo that has a Starbucks in it, and he went from the Wells Fargo over to 3rd and Madison, which there's not a lot in that area. It's sort of by the library, sort of by the Museum of Art, so it's not a bad area, but it's just kind of just businesses and stuff. To meet up with this alleged girl that he was
Yeah.
going to sell these drugs to. Cops ambushed him and then found all these. I think they said it was meth, but I know they said that they found him selling meth and heroin and cocaine, all three.
So,
from my understanding, anyway.
So he didn't have one of those he didn't sell enough drugs to have one of the little flashbangs so he can distract everybody and get away like Batman does.
No, he did do the flashbang, but they caught him anyway.
Oh.
No, I just made that up.
Right.
I just made that up. That's not true. That's not true.
So was he keeping the drugs in his utility belt?
I would imagine so. But you know, we're laughing about this and everything, and it is a funny scenario. But it's also, I mean, it's sad because I'm sure that he did inspire a lot of people, you know, and he made a difference. And in a world so bleak, we look to superheroes as our inspiration, and it's always been fictional. This is one guy that we can say, well, it's not like the movies, it's not like the comic book, but it's the closest that we've ever gotten. Mm. And then this happens.
Right. You know, and that kind of takes away your faith, you know, in that actually being a possibility.